Most people only see the finished house, but today we're going to talk about building the part no one ever sees. Today we're talking about what it takes to place a foundation from start to finish and how to make sure it's done perfectly. So the first thing that we're going to talk about with our foundation is clearing the site, prepping it, and getting the corners laid out. So the first thing that we do when we come to a site is give ourselves a nice clean area to do our work. So we often refer to this as like a clear and grub. And we clear the site of any kind of like debris and vegetation, as well as usually scraping off about the first top 6 inches of topsoil. That's kind of like clearing our site for what comes next. The next thing we do is we call our surveyors out. Our surveyors will come out here and usually lay our building corners, and that's usually the foundation corners in each area where we have an outside corner, so we know how our building looks in the space. And this gives us a good idea of the space that we have and where our building sits in that space. All right, so now that we have our area cleared and our corners staked, we're gonna go into excavation. And excavation is really just knowing exactly where we need to dig things out, like grade beams and exterior grade beams and interior grade beams and thickened edges, to make sure that our foundation is laid out in the right way. And here we can really start to see the shape of our building come together. This is where our concrete will end up going eventually, and we're really just building the thickened, reinforced edges where we need all of our structural loads to go. After we have our excavation done, what we do is we start to build our foundation up with what we call like a fill material or a select fill. Usually we're only bringing in about 4 to 6 inches of a select fill material that we're using underneath our foundation slab or at the bottom of our footings. And this fill material is really a consistent kind of grade, and it's made up of similar materials. That way when you compact it, it gets really strong. So what you see around us here is our fill material. It's kind of uniform, a certain size, and then we're able to dig out our footings if we need to into our fill material. So you can see that we had a fill of our select fill to bring us up to grade. And then if you look across here, our entire grade is all flat, brought up with this fill material. And what this does is really provide a nice solid foundation for our footings, our grade beams, and our thickened slab. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set our forms. Our forms are really what we're doing to control where the concrete goes. Think of it like a mold and stopping the concrete at the edge of our slab. But what we have right here is our form set at the top of our slab on grade elevation. That way when our concrete stops, we know that our concrete's flat throughout the entire surface, and we can kind of use these controls to determine where our edges are and how the building looks. The idea of every type of form is to create a mold of where the concrete can go and make sure that it doesn't overrun or go into other parts of the house where it's not supposed to be.
Welcome back to Revent News. This just in, breaking news from the job site. Ends Pouches is releasing their Black Friday mega deal. Back from the field, yes, it is confirmed each pouch is packed with 50 milligrams of caffeine. Now, this is perfect if you are working on the job site, trying to tie rebar, digging grade beams, or beg your engineer to pass your inspection. Additional information continues to resurface. Yes, got it. The Focus Blend is packed with nootropics to keep you sharp while double checking those forms. Okay, everyone, just to reiterate, this Black Friday deal is temporary. Use it this Friday through Cyber Monday. Promo code Black Friday for the 25% off. If you're outside of that window, you can, just as always, use promo code JGB to get your 15% off. Now, back to the field team.
All right, so now that we have all of our formwork up, the next thing that we'll move into is our underground utilities. Underground utilities usually consist of things like sanitary lines and different types of plumbing lines, maybe our water lines, as well as in-slab conduits or conductors that we want to try and hide and conceal so we don't have to see them later. A lot of our in-slab utilities or under-slab utilities are things that we're never really going to be able to get to later, right? We're gonna bury this pipe, and so what we'll do during this time is we'll actually put these on test. So these plumbing pipes actually are holding water right now to make sure that we're not having any leaks underneath our building. This is actually a required inspection by the City of Austin. We'll also have a certain inspection for any electrical conduits, as well as what we call a UFER, which is a electrical grounding conductor that is tied into the footing of our house, which needs to be installed during our underground utility phase. One thing that you may not have seen before on a slab on grade foundation is what we call a slab depression. And right now I'm standing next to a sanitary pipe, as well as this 2x4 form that will actually end up being part of a shower. In our houses, we often don't like to use curbs in our showers. We like to have a smooth transition from your tile floor right into your tile shower. In order to make sure that this is waterproofed, what we'll do is we'll essentially drop the slab about 3.5 inches, or the size of a 2x4. So our slab on grade comes to the top of our form. We have our floating form here for our slab depression, and now our concrete is 3.5 inches lower, giving us enough room to waterproof and slope this towards the drain while having a one cohesive concrete slab. This allows our waterproofing to be continuous and give us a great way to install our tile. All right, so one thing that we can talk about with our foundations that we're actually not doing on this project is something called a footing. And a footing is usually a separate slab or foundation piece that is separate from what we would call like a slab on grade or our grade beams. Footings are usually larger, wider, and deeper than a grade beam. They're used to carry things like heavy loads for stairwells or columns or something that has a lot of very direct downward pressure. We use a footing to kind of like build up and bolster up the foundation. And sometimes grade beams will actually be placed on top of footings, or we have what we call hard points, which are footings in certain areas where there's a lot of load. So now that we have our footings dug out, we have all of our under slab utilities in place, maybe we have a footing or two done, we're going to talk about our reinforcement. And we're often referring to our rebar or reinforcing bar. And rebar comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. And the reason why we use reinforcing bar is that concrete's really strong and a compressive strength. But when we start to apply forces downward or in flexion and tension, concrete's brittle and it wants to snap. Well, I've always referred to rebar as kind of like our way to our tendons, and it kind of gives it this like ability to kind of like flex. And so what we do with our rebar is a number of things. We put it at points to support our slab. You can see around us, we kind of have like this grid, a bunch of squares, kind of dividing up our slab into different segments to make sure it's reinforced properly. But in between these squares, we're using grade beams. And these grade beams are just deeper reinforcement. There's a bunch of different types of rebar. We have what we call straight bar. We have different sizes of straight bar. We also have what we call stirrups. And stirrups are kind of like the skin that keeps a bunch of the other bar together and in shape. And what we're really looking for with our rebar is to make sure that it's installed to the engineer's specification. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what kind of forces will be put on this house, but what I do know is that the engineer has calculated the size of the rebar and the spacing of the rebar to make sure that it can hold the weight of the house above it. So what we're looking at with our rebar is a couple of different things. We're looking at our spacing or our frequency of our bar. Usually they'll specify a size and a pattern. As far as like this one's being 16 inches on center, you can see that I have 16 inches between each one of our bars here. And they'll usually say something like 16 on center each way. So in each direction, north, south, and then east, west, we've got bar spaced at 16 inches on center. We're also looking for things like our clearance. So when we're talking about our clearance, we're looking for a couple of things. We're looking at clearance underneath our rebar as well as on top. So we have a 4-inch slab here. So if we have a 4-inch slab, I've got 2 inches of concrete below my rebar and 2 inches of concrete above my rebar. This is perfect. We're also looking for clearance around the side of our forms here. So you can see that our rebar, our foundation contractor, has actually cut our reinforcement about 1.5 to 2 inches away from the edges of our form, which is perfect. Usually our clearance is determined by the structural engineer, and it's a general note saying I need this much coverage between my rebar and my formwork, or my rebar and my earth. And that's something that we check all the time. If we don't have our correct coverage, we're just not getting the right amount of concrete and strength around our reinforcement. All right, we've done all this work. We've got our reinforcement in. The next thing we do is we need to double check it all. We always have our engineer come out and inspect all of our reinforcement. The city of Austin or your city inspector typically won't look at like our actual reinforcement. It needs to be the engineer. So before we ever place an ounce of concrete, our engineer comes out here, does their inspection, lets us know if we need to correct anything, and then they give us the thumbs up. We also double check all of our form elevations. We talked about how our formwork is kind of like the mold where our concrete goes. We'll often get what we call a form survey to make sure that our forms are in the right location, that they're in the right length, that they're at the right elevation. This is just another way for us to double check that what our contractors are doing is correct. We'll also go through and look at things like all of our poly. Do we have holes in any of our poly fiber here? Do we have areas where we need to add like spray foam or seal up gaps in floors and maybe a wall, and we need to like seal this wall off? We'll use spray foam sometimes. Double checking our work is a great way to make sure that we don't have to chip things out later. We do this very robust double check with a city, with a third-party inspector, with the engineer, with our trades. It's just a really good way to make sure that everyone's on the same page before we make sure this thing's rock solid. All right, so everything's ready, and what we're gonna do next is we're gonna place the concrete. And the placement day, or the pour day, as some people like to call it, is really just a lot of planning and then some hard work, right? So when we're talking about planning on a concrete placement, we usually want to talk about access and what we want the concrete to look like along the way. When we talk about access, we usually want to start from our furthest point because we have to get all of our materials and all of our guys over there and then painting ourselves out so we're not stepping on or ruining our finished product. One tool you'll see us using a lot during a placement is a vibrator. And the vibrator is really just a hose that we drop into the concrete and it shakes to make sure that there's no air voids within the concrete. We want to make sure that all of our concrete is consolidated and that we don't have these air voids keeping our concrete from consolidating. As we're finishing out and placing backwards, we can then start to talk about leveling and striking off the concrete, making sure that it's level with the bowl float, with the screed, with the come along, making sure that it's all level. So then as it cures, we can come back and start to finish it with the trowels, the float machine, with our bowl floats, and kind of just work our way from the corner to the front with every aspect of the project. From the placement to the finish, we paint from a corner out. All right, so we've got our concrete finished. Now we need to make sure it cures correctly. And curing is part of this process that concrete needs to go through to make sure it achieves its final strength. So during this curing process, we could just leave it alone and let it do its thing, or we could take the extra step to make sure that it cures properly and is really the product that we're looking for. And what that means is keeping the hydration process that happens when you add water and cement together going. So what we'll often do is we'll come out and take a slab and we'll wet it a little bit. Sometimes we'll actually put blankets over the top of our slab if it's too cold out, or to maintain the moisture within the slab. Sometimes we'll come out here and just double check and make sure that the curing process looks good. We'll come out here and do a little spot check, make sure that there aren't weird colors popping through or anything that's happened to our formwork. Really, the curing process is just making sure that you're taking care of the product that you've already put so much work into. All right, so we've waited a couple days. Usually we wait about 3 to 5 days for the concrete to cure and become hard before we strip our forms. We talked about the forms being the mold for the concrete. Well, now that we're done with the mold, we need to get rid of it so we only have a solid concrete base. So all of this formwork will come out here. We'll start pulling all the nails out. We'll start hitting them and kind of busting forms open, as we call them. And it just breaks away the formwork from the rest of the slab. All right, and that's the basics, or what it takes to place a flawless foundation. But if you liked any of it, or maybe you didn't like it, or have a different way of doing something, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to answer. Thanks for listening, guys. Glad you tuned in.